Hello friends, James Stevenson here with a video primarily for Tesla finance nerds, people who care what's in the 10Q that Tesla released this morning. There weren't that many questions that we had outstanding from the investor letter that Tesla published last week on the afternoon that they did the earnings call, but there was one about investments that we got clarified in the 10Q. I don't know if it's great news. It's okay. We'll take a look at what the investor letter showed after I check in with Loki, who is curled up in bed as usual. I'll show you what was in the investor letter that we talked about. Good to see that Tesla's net income was a positive number. Still, this number hasn't grown since any of the numbers from the prior 4 quarters. Not great, but the net cash provided by operating activities still looking pretty good here. $3.3 billion. That is more than in any of the previous 3 quarters. It wasn't a year-over-year increase, though, because a year ago, when Tesla's prices were a lot higher, they generated $5.1 billion worth of net cash. From operating activities. This is operating cash flow. So the bad news, if you can call it that, I mean it's just news. Maybe it's not bad news. Is that Tesla keeps spending more every quarter on capital expenditures, right? So it's expensive to do stuff like Dojo, right? You got to buy a lot of chips. You got to put them into server racks and train computers on how to drive, that sort of thing, right, is the reason why Tesla is spending more this year than they were a year ago on capital expenditures, buying assets that have a long life, right? So Tesla's free cash flow is going to be the difference between these two lines. You take the operating cash flows and then you subtract capital expenditures from that, and that gives you free cash flow. So you can see this quarter it was less than $1 billion for the first time in, well, I guess in Q1 it was less than $1 billion, wasn't it? But most of the recent quarters I've recalled the free cash flow being more than $1 billion, which is great. But Tesla has been doing more purchasing of investments. So you can see purchases of investments and proceeds from maturities of investments. These must have been short-term investments to have come back in so fast here. So the statement of cash flows is just telling you what has your company done with their cash during this quarter. Where did you get it from, and what did you spend it on during the quarter, right? So this line is telling you cash outflows that you sunk into investments, whether those are short or long term. And this tells you what money you got back out of your investments. So when they matured, you get your money back off of your investment, and that's what this line is showing. So really big money here. The largest amount of money Tesla has sunk into investments ever, I think, happened this quarter. Over $6 billion worth flowing in, and $3.8 billion coming back out again. So net, that's money being invested in short-term investments to get some kind of a return back off of them, that your regular cash balance, in your checking account isn't going to pay you very much interest, right? But then down here at the bottom, we've got net repayments in parentheses, or borrowings, not in parentheses, under vehicle and energy product financing. This is one of the questions that we got during Farzad's live stream on the eve of earnings. Was, hey, what's this $2.2 billion? Is this money that Tesla has repaid of debt early? No, it's not. These numbers in parentheses over here, these are negative numbers. That's telling you where Tesla's money went when they paid off debt early. So for the previous 4 quarters, this has been a negative number, and then suddenly it's flipped to a much larger positive number, meaning Tesla is taking cash from borrowings. So Tesla is borrowing money under vehicle and energy product financing, and we thought, well, let's get the 10Q and find out what kind of a deal Tesla got on these borrowings. How much interest do they need to pay? So I'll flip over to the 10Q and I'll show you, well, first of all, let's talk about the assets. So we've got cash here, about $15 billion worth of cash here. This is the top section is showing you the latest. So September 30th, 2023. What was the snapshot in time of Tesla's assets on the balance sheet? So Tesla had about $26 billion worth of total cash, cash equivalents, and short-term investments, of which, nearly $15 billion was just cash in the bank. Another billion was in money market funds, $4.8 billion in U.S. government securities, $0.6 billion in corporate debt securities, so buying bonds that other companies have issued, and $4.8 billion in CDs, bank certificates of deposit and time deposits that pay a pretty good interest rate, I guess. So that's what Tesla has there. Short-term cash equivalents, and short-term investments in. A year ago, you can see what these numbers were. They've kind of all gone up. So, except for the money market funds, those have come down. And so have the corporate debt securities, I guess. Both of those went down. And the rest have come up some. Most notably, the U.S. government securities. That's not very surprising because U.S. government securities are paying a much better interest rate this year than they were last year. All right. So what else do I want to see here? Well, inventory. You don't get the breakdown of inventory in the investor letter, but you do get it here. So you can see for September 30th, 2023, if you take a snapshot in time at the end of September, Tesla had $5.8 billion worth of raw materials inventory, so stuff as it arrived at Tesla's factories, getting received off the truck, still in the same condition that it arrived in. Tesla has $5.8 billion worth of, you can think of this as being rolls of aluminum, right? Those are raw materials. They haven't been stamped into parts yet, right? Then for work in process inventory, this is stuff that isn't done cooking yet. So after you've stamped that roll of aluminum into body panels and bolted them onto body in white, well, that's work in process at that point. It's nowhere near done. You can't sell it to anybody like it is. It's an in-between state between raw materials and finished goods. What's finished goods? These are products that are ready to be sold. So they've completed their trip down the assembly line and they are ready to be shipped off to whoever is buying that product. That's your finished goods inventory. So that number is up versus where it was at the end of last year. There's a lot more Tesla vehicles and maybe Megapacks as well in transit to their buyers or haven't been sold yet, is what this is telling you. And there's a note on here. You can see the footnote telling you there's a lot of vehicles in transit to their buyers in that number. Then you got service parts here, so this is just the inventory that Tesla service centers keep so that they can repair vehicles. They've got parts ready to repair people's Teslas. And that's how you get to your total. So the total inventory is up, but it's not up by a lot. It's up by less than $1 billion from where it was 9 months ago. Okay. Plant, property, and equipment. That's fun to see Tesla's factories getting more valuable as time goes by. They get more machinery in them, tooling, robots, etc. Tesla buying more land, building more buildings, Getting more computers. Look at this. Over $1 billion worth of increase in the asset value of Tesla's computer equipment, hardware, and software. So probably a decent chunk of this was the Dojo supercomputer. Then you got construction in progress. So these are capital projects that are not completed yet, but they're underway. Okay. And then I need to pay off what I said I was going to get to, which is debt. So in Note 7, debt, on page 18 of the 10Q Tesla released this morning, you can find a total of $3.3 billion of unpaid principal balance in automotive asset-backed notes. So this is using the leases that Tesla has delivered to buyers. Well, they're not buying the car outright, they're leasing it for a period of 3 years, and then they're going to give it back to Tesla, right? So Tesla has all these payments that they expect to receive from the people who are leasing Teslas and have taken delivery over the past 3 years or so. And this is broken down into current assets versus long-term assets. Current means this money is going to come in the next year, and long-term means it'll be more than 12 months, right? So this is the interesting percentage here. Tesla's paying a rate of probably 6.57%. At the high end. So they're paying an interest rate somewhere between 0.36% and 6.57% on all of these automotive asset-backed notes, but probably most of this at the high end, with maturity happening July 2024 through August of 2027. So the July 2024 notes are going to be in the current column, and the August 2027 will be in the long-term column, right? And there could be a bunch of maturities in between those two as well that aren't provided. But there you go. I doubt Tesla is getting anything close to 6.57% interest back from the U.S. government notes that they've been buying. So it is a little curious to see Tesla losing probably a net of about 1 percentage point, which isn't terrible in this interest rate market, on borrowing against their automotive asset-backed notes and then moving that money into government treasuries. Seems like they didn't have to do this, so I'm a little curious about it. This is not my usual video with, you know, positive news and a lot of uptrends and a fun chart to look at. But I thought it was interesting enough to make a video about. And if you were hoping for a better punctuation mark at the end of this video, I'm sorry. That's all I got for you. Just the most interesting thing that I saw in the 10Q. And with that, unless Loki has something to add, I will outro and say if you somehow managed to like this video, don't forget to click the like button. And if you're not subscribed to my channel already and you're watching this on YouTube, you can click a subscribe button over here for free. But thank you to everyone who supports me by backing me on Patreon or on X or on YouTube by joining my channel as my executive producers Kenty Kitchler and Rebellionaire.com did, and I'll see you in the next one.